Okay, if you watched the previous video, then we did some exploring of fractions, of equivalent fractions. So now we're going to look back at those same numbers and we're going to try and figure out why are they equivalent fractions. So let's start off with 8/16. When you're looking at the 8 as the numerator and the 16 as the denominator, do you notice that these both are multiples of 8? That means that 8 is a common factor for both 8 and 16. Remember, a factor is something that you multiply to get an answer. Well, isn't 8 times 1 8? And isn't 8 times 2 16? So 8 is a factor of 8 and it's also a factor of 16. That is a factor that they both have in common. Hence the name common factor. Now what would happen if we took that 8/16 and we divided both the numerator by 8 and the denominator by 8? What would we have? Well, 8 divided by 8 would be 1, and 16 divided by 8 would be 2. And if you'll remember, when we were shading in our pizza earlier, let me see if I can go back to that picture here. This was the 8/16 that we shaded in. Doesn't it look like we've shaded about half of this pizza here? Absolutely. Because 8/16 can reduce down or simplify to 1/2. Alright, now let's look at the fraction 4/8. This time, what do the numerator and the denominator have in common? What's their common factor? Did you say 4? Because 4 times 1 is 4 and 4 times 2 is 8. So they both have a common factor of 4. So here again, if we were to take 4/8 and we were to divide the top and the bottom by that common factor, 4 divided by 4 would be 1, and 8 divided by 4 would be 2. So again, we have 1/2. And if I can go back to that portion of our drawing, here we had 4/8 of this pizza that we shaded in. Doesn't that look like it's half of the pizza? Absolutely, because those are equivalent fractions. Alright, now let's look at the fraction 2/4. So again, look to see what does the numerator and the denominator have in common as a factor. Did you say 2? Each one of these is divisible by 2. So if I were to do that, if I were to divide the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2, I would end up with 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2, so again I would end up with 1/2. And if I can go back to that same picture, let me go up here so we can get to it. When we shaded in 2 out of those 4 pieces, isn't that half of that pizza? Absolutely. This is called writing a fraction in lowest terms. A fraction is written in lowest terms when the numerator and denominator have no common factor other than 1. In other words, you have divided the top and the bottom, the numerator and the denominator, by the same number until you can't do that anymore. Only then is it in simplest form.